One of the reasons giving to charity is so painful is that it combines two hard problems. How much can I afford to give, and who do I give it to? And that first one very much is a budgeting problem. And the research shows that people who set a goal for their giving and automate it give 32% more to charity than people who don't. The idea was to make an app that made it incredibly simple for people to do what they already want to do and give a little bit more.
This is Adam Nash, and I'm challenging him to a little friendly plant building competition. A donor advised fund, this is an account where you can deposit assets that'll be donated to charity over time, called a DAF sometimes. What made you kind of focus on that?
But after more than a decade in fintech, as an investor, as an operator, as a board member, I really was struck by how much energy we had put into helping people save and invest and spend, yet we hadn't applied the same technology to giving. It's not really a complicated concept. I mean, most people understand that there are tax-free accounts for retirement, and there's tax-free accounts for college savings. Donor advised funds has been around for decades. It's just a tax-free account for charity. But if you didn't have a high-end accountant or a wealth manager, financial advisor, you probably didn't know that they existed. Oh, I'm building.
What the? What? When did that happen? Hold on, because I'm missing pieces. I forgot a whole bag. Okay, so walk me through it. I download Daffy, and then what happens? How does it work?
It's really simple. You open it up and it basically tells you, hey, we're gonna help you put money aside for charity, invest it tax-free, and then it's available anytime you wanna give. So the first question we ask you is a deceptively simple one, which is how much do you want to give to charity every year? Okay. And then if you wanna put aside a little bit of money every week or every month, we let you do that. You can link your bank account. I mean, if you want to do high-end things like contribute stock or even crypto, we support it. But then we let you set up your account, you name your fund, you even upload a photo, and then you get down to what's really important to most people, which is setting up the organizations and donations that you give every year that mean a lot to you.
They all look very similar, but there's
Don't they?
two fully different shades of green. I can't even get my bag open. I'm getting destroyed right now. Okay. Do you have anything that you tend to recommend to people if they're like, I want to support, but I only have a finite amount of money per month? Where do I start?
Well, listen, I think that, if you take the analogy of giving being like a financial goal, in some ways, what do you tell people about saving for retirement or saving for college or to buy a house? Start where you can start. Right. Sure, the best time to start saving was yesterday, but the second best time is today. So whatever you can afford to give. Most Americans, most households give to charity, and they give a few $100s every year to a handful of organizations they support. So you can always do that old trick. It's just look back over the last year. Who did you give to? Right. How much did you give? Are those organizations you want to support every year? And if you do that, you can come up with a number. Divide by 12, you get a monthly amount.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, from Daffy's perspective, the most important thing for us is to help people give what they can give, what they want to give. Right. And then we do nudge them every year to give a little bit more. But that's not really different than, nudging up that 401k contribution by 1% every year, or nudging up the amount you put aside for buying a house or for your kids' college education. There's a lot of commonality there, and that's how we've designed the app. The best way to think about giving is just like any other financial goal in your life. Most people have different ideas about how much they should give to charity every year, and so it should be in people's budget.
We're building these different, you have the dark one on top, I have a light one on top. Okay.
Okay. My wife, who's fairly perceptive about these things, thinks it's meditative for me. You like working with your hands, you kind of can do something.
Yeah.
Let your mind wander.
I want to shift a little bit because a little birdie told me that you teach at your alma mater at Stanford. You're a personal finance professor. So obviously I have to know, what would you say if your students could only take away one lesson? Obviously, you want them to take away it all. But if they only heard one thing in the entire semester, what is that thing that you would want them to have heard?
I tried to make the class very simple and approachable. I know they're Stanford students, and so they're brilliant in some ways, but most of the students in my class, a lot of them might be the first person in their family to go to college, a lot of immigrants, a lot of folks who are engineers haven't focused on money. And let's be honest, money isn't something that most schools teach in middle school or high school. This is not about IQ. This is just about the basics of personal finance. And so in some ways, I try to keep it very simple. I try to teach them that, the single most important thing is to spend less than you make, to build an emergency fund because life's unpredictable, that good investing is boring, That it's something you do over the long term, that compounding only works for you over the very long term. And then I do teach them to be smart about taxes, that the government has rules about financial decisions, and it does no one any good to be ignorant of those rules. But those are the only 4 things.
I'm curious. What is the thing that keeps you up at night? Like, what's that little thing in the back of your mind that you're like, someday I gotta figure this?
No one ever likes my real answer to this question.
But
Because I have 4 children, so I can tell you what keeps me up at night. It's not work related. They're little humans. And
Yes.
it turns out if you keep feeding them, they keep growing.
Yeah.
You are going to miss some things. And you just have to roll forward. You just have to take it and realize that you made these decisions. You're not going to be perfect. And just hope that the pattern and that your likelihood of success over time overwhelms the fact that there are dozens and dozens of things that you will miss and will have to deal with in real time and adjust for. And so the hardest choices you make, they're prioritization decisions, right? And I got this advice very early in my career. I remember it was in a performance review. So we all know that listening to feedback and performance reviews is a little difficult for most people, but this one really set with me. The partner I was working for, a venture capital firm, said that, anytime, whatever you're doing, you should always know the 3 things that are most important in any time period. The 3 most important things you're going to do today, this week, this month, this year. And, I used to park, when I was CEO of Wealthfront, I would actually purposely park about 10 to 15 minutes away from the office. So that on the walk-in, I could clear my head and really think about what were the 3 most important things I needed to get done that day.
I'm cheating off of your answers. Like, how's it going over there?
I'm okay. It's a little hard to read the colors on this.
It is. It's a little confusing. Well, as we're kind of approaching the end of the year, are there things that you think of in the charitable space where you're like, you might want to?
It is a good time. If you haven't given to organizations you support and support every year, please do. They depend on it. Their operating budgets depend on kind of donations every year. It's actually more important to them than a single big donation.
Yeah.
Little counterintuitive, but it's actually better for them to receive a steady amount of money every year because they have to hire people, they have to pay people, they have to throw events, they have to support people, and it's good to have a steady budget.
I think a kind of cool thing too about a DAF is that, like, for me, for example, there's a local summer camp that I like to give to. It's only at summertime. But like if I wanted to take advantage of the tax benefits in this upcoming tax season, if I were to donate into a DAF right now, I would get those benefits on this upcoming tax season. You missing pieces?
I am definitely short a piece here. I'm not
Sabotage.
sure what to do about it. Yeah.
Sabotage.
Wait a second. A lot of people do a lot of their giving at the end of the year.
Okay.
Almost a third of all giving happens in November and December.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think that's an accident. Jokingly, I'm not sure everyone is so well behaved on Halloween. It's possible that people just wake up November 1st and go, I need to be good.
Right.
I'm not sure. But all that giving happens partially, I think, because the holidays do put us in that reflective spirit of what the year was. A lot of charitable organizations focus on that time. Obviously, Giving Tuesday is a big deal. But also it turns out that it's kind of a perfect storm because from a tax perspective, I mean, the U.S. tax system is based on the calendar year. And so if you want a charitable deduction for the year, people start realizing in November, December, now's the time to do it. Oh, look, you've totally caught up. You're going to win. You are asking me a lot of questions.
I know. That's all part of my strategy.
Get 'em I think that makes sense.
Get them talking so I can make some progress. So Adam.
Yes.
What is next for Daffy?
We are always looking for ways to use technology to help people give and to make it easier to give, inspire people to give. And we have, more than anyone else, one of the things I'm most proud of is we have shipped more features, new ways of doing that probably in 2 years than many of our competitors who've been around for decades have done in decades.
Yeah.
We shipped a family plan. So you can include not just your children, your parents, your siblings, grandparents in giving, something that no one else has done in the industry. And so we try to always move the bar. We always try to push things forward. And so this year for the holidays, we've released a new feature called Campaigns to make it easy for people to raise money for the organizations and causes they believe in and do all the things that people normally do when they raise money for charity. You can raise money for multiple charities. You can match those donations. And so, we're trying to take a lot of the obvious things that have been happening on the internet for a while and bring it to this space, bring it to financial services, bring it to donor advised funds so that everyone can enjoy the benefits of having the right financial product and the features that will help them give and be the person they want to be.
How?
I thought I was going to lose it for sure.
I don't understand when and how this happened. Like, for a minute there, I was thriving.
Yeah,
like,
you were
I was like, oh,
totally
I have this in
winning.
the bag. I concede you are a faster, succulent block builder than I.
You are honestly the first person that's ever said that to me. But thank you.
I'm honored to be the first. If people are feeling inspired and they want to learn a little bit more about you, your journey, Daffy, how can they find you?
You can go to Daffy.org and find everything. Daffy.org is Daffy Charitable Fund's website. We were the first fully functional donor advised fund in the App Store. So if you search Daffy in the App Store, you will find us.
Thanks for hanging out with me today.
Thanks for having me.